True spiritual power is probably not what you think it is. If you're like me, you probably think that spiritual power would be somebody who has healing abilities. Maybe they can levitate. Maybe they have psychic abilities. Maybe they have abilities to use energy for telekinesis, to shift the awareness of people around them. I mean, think of all of the so-called God men, people who turned water into wine and did all kinds of crazy things and walked on water. That's what you think spiritual power is, right? We've come to believe that if somebody has these kinds of gifts, that they must be spiritually advanced. But I'm here to tell you that I've come to find out that that has nothing to do with true spiritual power. True spiritual power is far more massively intense than anything that we can think of in the third dimension. And this new kind of spiritual power is going to be revealed to human beings and released on planet Earth. Let's get into it. So, there are two types of spiritual power. There's the power over your 3D avatar. Everything that I just said, walking on water, levitating, moving things with your mind, psychic gifts, healing powers, being able to affect the minds of millions of people on Earth, this is third dimensional power. And it's meaningless. And the reason why it's meaningless is because this third dimensional matrix is a video game. It's a self-contained video game. So inside a video game, imagine you're sitting around, there's 5 of you there, and you're all playing a video game, and one of your friends is just, has all of the powers and the gifts and the blah, blah, but in real life, they only have one leg, and they can't function, they can't take care of themselves, but they're really good at that video game. Well, once they stop playing the video game, then they're going to be limping around and having a challenge in life. And you're out there actually, you're successful and you're happy and you're able to function in real life. The same thing applies for spirituality. We think differently, though. We think that if somebody down here is limited and challenged and maybe not very well known, maybe not very powerful, they're not successful, they might even have physical, mental, or emotional challenges, we think that they're not spiritual. But that's only their avatar. That's their third dimensional avatar. So just like in a video game, if somebody has all of, is the most powerful avatar inside of the video game universe, but outside of the video game universe, they don't have any power, that video game power is really meaningless. Same thing is true here. So the first type is power over your 3D avatar. The second type of power, the one we want to talk about, is the power to affect the matrix. So we live in a matrix. It's not a computer simulated game, although it shares a lot of the same similarities. We live inside of a fixed, isolated little matrix in the third dimension. And what happens in the third dimension, it's like we live in a mirrored fishbowl. So we think we're looking out into infinity, even, we send out probes and satellites and things like that. We're just sending them out into the mirrored fishbowl. We think we know what the universe is, and the truth is we only know what we think we perceive here. And even science, if you look at even mathematics and physics, has come to the conclusion that this is in fact a simulation, and that we are nothing more than 3D avatars inside of a simulation. So to have real power means that you have power outside of this matrix. Just like the example before, The guy who has real power is the guy who can put down the video game controller and go off to his successful life. And just because you have power within the video game doesn't mean you have power outside of the video game. Conversely, you could be somebody within the video game who has no power. You don't have any success, any money, you have physical, emotional challenges. People get mad at me sometimes when I tell them, you chose to be here. And they go, how can you say that? What about the person who's born in some third world country with no legs? Did they choose to be here? Why would they choose to do that? And my response is, I don't know. Don't ask me. Ask them. They're the ones that chose to be that way. Well, that is very likely an extremely powerful individual. And I'm going to explain to you why. So, the power to affect the matrix is outside of your 3D experience. Let's talk about false power, wealth. Wealth has zero effect on your power outside. Now, you could be everything that I'm saying. You could be somebody who has wealth and power inside the third dimensional matrix, and you could be a huge, powerful being outside. But it doesn't necessitate that you are. Same thing for somebody who has a lot of spiritual power. Just because you have a lot of spiritual power here does not necessitate that you have spiritual power out there. But you might. It doesn't prevent you. It all depends on the most important way that you interact with this game, which we are going to talk about in a little bit. Let's finish talking about the false power. So it's wealth, fame, 3D control, which would be like a politician or an elite that has all kinds of control over things. Somebody who has 3D hive mind acceptance. Everybody on this planet is either in one of two camps. There's no middle ground here. People try and put themselves in the middle ground, but you can't do it. It's getting harder and harder. You are either seeking to gain acceptance from the 3D hive mind matrix, or you are seeking to awaken to your own authentic spiritual soul self. Those are the only two options that you have. And being here on this video game Earth, that's the game, is your avatar trying to figure out how to make what you're really looking for is true spiritual power. But the question is, are you going to be deceived by the hive mind acceptance program, or are you going to be fearless and go after what your soul wants, even if it means that you'll be isolated and rejected and unknown and not have any 3D power? All right. So what is spiritual power? First thing you need to do is realize your human self is only an avatar. We've already talked about that. Second is that 3D power is a video game illusion attachment. So that includes spiritual power. This is something that has come to light, and it will come to light more. I'm not going to name names, but there are people who have, for decades, have been recognized as spiritual, powerful people. They go do podcasts. They're very popular. And some of them have revealed themselves as frauds, and more of them will be revealed, that they've really only been going after the 3D hive mind approval. They like the fame, they like the attention, and they're able to say all the right things. And the fact is that almost everybody in the spiritual camp is looking for the wrong thing. The things that you are being told are spiritual or not. I'm not going to take up the time to talk about it in this video, but this is going to come to light soon also. So 3, your higher dimensional true self is seeking spiritual power from your participation in the 3D video game. So I don't care who you are. Every single person that has been born, is alive now, and will be born into the Earth matrix, whether that's the 3D or the 5D coming later, it doesn't matter. Every single human soul that is born into the earth matrix, they are an extremely powerful God. And they're coming here and playing this video game to gain more spiritual power. They are all looking at it in different ways and coming at it for different specific aspects of that power, but that's why every soul comes here. This is why it's so important. You have to take full responsibility. You have to accept that you've chosen to come here. You chose to come here so that your higher dimensional self could gain power. It's also very important to understand, as I said, that the things that seem powerful here don't have any meaning in and of themselves. It doesn't mean that you are or you aren't powerful outside of this 3D matrix. But if you understand the one thing that I'm going to share with you that does give immense power outside of this 3D video game, if you understand that and you go after that, you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so your higher dimensional true self is seeking spiritual power from your participation in the 3-dimensional video game. There is only one way to achieve massive spiritual power, and that is to overcome your 3D ego-based life challenges. Now, before you start thinking what most people think I've gotten rid of my ego, and I don't have a self, and I'm just here for others. That is the epitome of ego. That is called virtue signaling, and it's a lie. Anybody who says that, anybody who says, I have no ego, I'm only here for others, you are either in delusion, you are deeply, deeply attached to being approved of spiritually, or you're an outright fraud, or both. We have all experienced that through our lives. We've been taught that. That's why, this is where this comes from. The meek shall inherit the earth. This comes from the powers that be that are trying to hypnotize you into believing that you're nothing. And that if you just accept that you're nothing, that you're a doormat, that somehow you're spiritual. If you sacrifice yourself for others, somehow you're spiritual. That is complete and total nonsense. It is 100% backwards. And this is all going to come out. So what I'm talking about here is overcoming your 3D ego-based life challenges. That means as you go through life and your ego, you bump into things that are embarrassing, where you have to choose to either do one of two things. Try and recover and make yourself look good and hide behind a false ego, which includes spiritual supplication and virtue signaling and pretending to be super spiritual and having no problems. And that, you're either doing that or you're going after and doing the things that are most challenging for you. So you came here to challenge yourself. And what's going to happen is as we get deeper and deeper into this higher frequency that it's hitting this earth, what is going to happen is people are going to have to take actions. They're going to have to deliberately take actions to expose themselves, to become more authentic, to become more transparent, and to own up to all of their perceived limitations, because it's ego. Your limitation that you think you have is pure ego. When you don't have an ego, you don't see limitations. You just see the video game. For example, for myself, I came here. Right now, I'm in Waco, Texas, and I'm surfing the wave pool here. They got this special, so I'm basically surfing here as often as my body will allow for the next 30 days. And I'm having a huge, massive ego smashing experience because I've been surfing my whole life. I've never surfed an artificial wave before, and I'm also getting older. It's a challenging, difficult experience, and I'm having to do it in front of everybody. So everybody has to see this old man try and surf, and I'm floundering. But I know that if I continue to go after this and face this challenge, then that's all it is. And then nobody cares. The truth is, nobody cares. Nobody's watching me to see how I surf. They're out there for their own fun and their own ego. So I'm doing something that's very difficult for me. If I wanted to preserve my ego, I would just pack up and leave and say, I'm not surfing that thing. A lot of people have done that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to challenge myself to learn a new skill, even when it's physically very demanding for me at this stage in my life. I am not going to give up. I am going to have my ego be as destroyed as possible, and I'm going to reveal it to everybody. I'm going to show everybody what I'm going through and what I'm experiencing. For only because I know if I survive ego challenges, my higher dimensional self becomes more and more powerful. So what I'm finding out is that every single time that you face an ego challenge in your life, it doesn't matter whether you succeed or you fail. That's not what this is about. It's about you facing it, no matter what the personal ego pain of it is, and getting to be more comfortable with yourself, becoming more authentic, becoming more transparent, and becoming less attached to whatever this ego thing is. When you do that, here's what happens. Your higher dimensional self, which is a God, takes the power of that, because when you overcome an ego challenge, and it may be something nobody even knows about, Nobody might even have any idea that you're going through this, but you know. When you go through it, your higher dimensional self takes that power and creates entire universes with it. It is, we really have no idea what this is. We think this is reality. Religion has told us that this is reality and that God is up there and that all of our energy is down here in these bodies, and we're living in reality, and we're not. We're living in a totally fabricated video game, and our souls are out there in much higher dimensions, creating entire universes, creating entire dimensions, planets, worlds. And this can't be done if you don't face your ego challenges. So that's the thing, is don't run away from the difficulty and the pain. Face it and be willing to do whatever it takes to overcome it. Be willing to face whatever weaknesses, whatever challenges you have within yourself to overcome your own fears. So one thing you can do that is easy is write down all of the things that you've thought about doing, the things that you've fantasized about doing, but you talked yourself out of doing it. Either because you didn't have the money, or you didn't have the time, or your wife or your husband or your parents or your school or your religion is going to tell you you can't do that. No, you've got to come back and be a part of society and make widgets and, earn money and get a mortgage and, earn interest on your, that nonsense. That nonsense is an escape. It's an escape from your soul, who wants to go through powerfully difficult, ego deflating experiences that you will benefit from. So to give you another example, somebody was asking Arnold Schwarzenegger about making mistakes. And he said something to the effect of, I love making mistakes. He says, you can't get anywhere unless you learn from your mistakes. So the idea was that he couldn't have become, an extremely successful bodybuilder and a successful action star, movie actor, if he hadn't faced all of his weaknesses and be willing to fall flat on his face and look ridiculous. So that's just one example. So Write a list of all the things that you've wanted to do, that you've talked yourself out of, or other people have talked you out of it, and make the decision to do it no matter what the cost. And if you do, you will be giving your higher dimensional self power to change this world. So a lot of people talk about manifesting 5D, manifesting the new world. The way that you do that is, of course, you intend, you think about, and you intend and you meditate on that perfect world you want to experience. That is by far the first step. But to gain more and more power so that your intentions become even more able to shift this reality, face those limitations within yourself. Do the thing that you're most afraid of, that you secretly want, but you won't let anybody know about because they're going to make fun of you or tell you that you can't do it or shame you out of it. Because why aren't you making widgets like your brother? And when you do that, you will have the power to completely change this reality. This is happening now. We are now in a place where human beings are beginning to shift. And those people who are doing what I just talked about, they're facing their ego challenges, they're consciously seeking to disconnect from the 3D hive mind matrix. Those people who are continuing to look at themselves and willing to smash their egos to bits in order to achieve their deepest desires, those people are now beginning to become multidimensional. So what do I mean by that? It means that they can go to a higher dimensional place and have direct impact on this reality. So, as I said before, trying to get 3D power is meaningless. I mean, if you want to do it, do it. Some people are meant to do it. They'll find out ultimately that it's meaningless. This is the truth. If you want to do this, research very rich, very famous celebrities. Go research them. What you're going to find out is that they, as a whole, are massively unhappy, hugely unhappy, especially when they get, as they get older. They're so uncomfortable and so unhappy with themselves because they never found true connection and true fulfillment, because they have been placated by the hive mind matrix, which wants you to puff your ego up. I mean, look at social media. What is it that people do on social media? It's the craziest thing. They go out to dinner and they'll take pictures of their food and post it on their Facebook. Look at the food I'm eating. I was at the beach not too long ago, and these people came to the beach, and there was younger people, and they were walking, over the bridge onto the beach with their camera in front of them, and they were taking pictures of the beach, and then they were looking at the picture to see if it, how it made the beach look, and then they were taking selfies of the. They weren't there. The whole reason for going to the beach was so that they could post onto social media what they were doing. And this is a program. This is the program that they want you to get involved in, to become just a representation, a superficial mask of something, and not be your true self. All right, I went off on a tangent there. So overcome your 3D ego-based life challenges. Overcoming challenges gives your higher dimensional self massive power to change the multiverse. Not only are you creating other worlds every time you do this, other dimensions, just think about it. You're creating so many different realities, but you are changing this reality. You want to give energy to your higher dimensional self, who's going to come in and shift this reality around. It's the opposite. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be broke and sick and miserable. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you just know that this is a video game. And this is something to be experienced. It's an adventure. And in adventures, people aren't spending their time hoarding money or possessions, or, they're out there using their resources. And then as they go through the adventure, they get more resources. And the video game will give you all of the resources that you need, all of the experience points that you need in order to have the most fun you can have on this planet. So that's my message for today, that true spiritual power is not inside this, and it has nothing to do with spiritual power that people think, like being able to heal, or being, a deep meditator, being able to have psychic abilities, or being able to walk on water. All of that is third dimensional illusionary nonsense. The real power is out there, outside of the game, that can be focused here. And for instance, if you are able to gain massive spiritual power out there, you will begin to shift this reality and nobody will know anything about it. You want to know one of the reasons that there are Mandela effects? It's this very thing. It means that there are very powerful, higher dimensional beings who are down here on this planet just going through life. And they've overcome challenges in their life. Sometimes major challenges that nobody would even know anything about. If you heard about them, it might not be a big deal to you, but to them it's a huge ego issue. A major challenge that they've overcome. Somebody's afraid of the ocean, and they get over their fear of the ocean and they become, a stand-up surf, person. They go out and they surf on stand-up boards. Somebody's afraid of heights and they become a pilot. Those kinds of things. It's meaningless to us, but it depends on you. How big of a challenge is it for you? When you overcome those things, your higher dimensional self comes in and starts changing this third dimensional world into what we're calling 5D. And one of the ways we know that's happening at an accelerated pace is because of the Mandela effect. Our past is getting blurry and changing. We're starting to see that this is just a video game. All right, so if you want to have a personal experience in that, we do live guided interdimensional meditations every Wednesday and Saturday. Today is Saturday. We're going to be doing one in about 40 minutes. And you can be there for those live. Make sure that you subscribe so you get notified when I'm going to go live for those. And if you can't make the live meditations, then go to the live section on the YouTube channel, and there's hundreds of them. All you have to do is just put on your headphones, your earbuds, and just close your eyes and let the meditation take you. And if you do it with an open mind, I guarantee you will have an experience, and you will start to experience your higher dimensional self. This is something that wasn't available to humans up until recently. Because we are shifting, human beings, as I said, are able to now shift between dimensions while still being in their human body, and that wasn't possible before. If you want to gain the power in this world to be able to pull that higher dimensional energy down and shift it with your physical body, that is also something that is now available for humans to do. And I teach you how to do that with these links, maoshan.thunderwizard.com, thunderwizard.com. So if you're brand new, go to thunderwizard.com, click on shop, and then scroll to the bottom. You see Maoshan Summoning the Immortals. It's cheap, but I'm making that available so that you can feel the power. Every single person, I'm talking about Tai Chi masters, yoga masters, meditation masters, every single one of them who has done the Maoshan energy practices, any of them, they've come back to me and said, I've never felt anything at this high of a frequency before. And that's because it's never been introduced to the world before. I'm the first person to introduce these techniques to the world on a large public scale. So if you're new to it, go and check out Summoning the Immortals. You can also then move up to Celestial Qigong, That you'll get the basics of a power that will open up your heart and bring higher dimensional, very powerful, you'll feel it, very powerful electromagnetic energy from higher dimensions into this reality. You'll also have a direct connection to higher dimensional light beings who will work directly with you. If you want to have the power to become a wizard, then you can move up to the Maoshan 5-element fighting spirit fighting forms. You can see them there. You can get those both here at maoshan.thunderwizard.com and at the shop at thunderwizard.com. If you're brand new and you say, I don't know about any of that, I just need to get started, I can give you a practice that will activate your chi meridians, your energy meridians, your kundalini, which is the energy that goes up the spine and connects you consciously to higher dimensions, and the new energy I told you about that brings electromagnetic energy down through the heart center. I've combined this into one practice, which we call the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. So for that one, you go to thunderwizard.com again, and you click on memberships, and then join the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. If you have any questions about it, let me know. There's also one practice I think everybody should be doing, and that is this one, the Dark Warrior of the North. It's a combination of different types of energy practices, but this is the one that gives you the ability to begin seeing the new 5D reality for yourself, your new reality. And the more that you do that practice, the more you'll be able to see that and have the power to take action. All of these practices will give you power to overcome your ego challenges. Your ego challenges are still going to be there, but you're going to have so much more power to be able to face them. So I encourage you to take a look at all of that. If you have any questions about what practice you should do and how you can work with me personally, that's the best way to grow, is to work with me personally. Put it in the comments section. I respond to every question that is honest and respectful. And so if you put your question in there about what you can do to learn from me, I'll be happy to help you. My friends, that's it. Thank you so much. I appreciate you very much. And I look forward to seeing you all very, very soon.